In this video, we're going to talk about TIG welding stainless steel on a lot of different joints and for a lot of different industries. You'll see plenty of arc shots, we'll show some settings, some heat tint removal, and a whole lot more. Stainless steel has some different requirements than carbon steel for welding, one of which is purging when you're making a full penetration weld. We'll also talk about some best practices that'll help you keep your stainless stainless. You generally get better results on stainless steel with some type of gas lens setup. This is a Furic Clear FUPA 12, and this is a practice test plate here using 304L stainless. You generally wouldn't test on that for aerospace, but this is just practice. There are several instructive things about this shot here, but one of which is get that puddle established quickly, like within about 2 seconds. A lot of times using one size smaller filler helps on stainless steel. I'm using 045 here, where normally I might use 1/16 on carbon steel. 51 amps to weld 063 metal. You don't need quite as much heat on stainless steel as you do carbon steel. And this is the instructive part. Coming up to a tack, about 2 or 3 dabs before you get to the end tack, you got to really start paying attention. You don't want to blow that end away. So right about here, I start letting off that pedal and really paying attention to the front of that puddle as it washes into that tack, and I'm getting off the amperage and trailing out to not leave a crater eye. We're going to use a similar technique to weld from an edge where there's a tack on the end. And what you want to do is watch the back of that puddle and give it just enough amperage for that back of that puddle washes about halfway through it, and then move on. You don't want to curl that end away and blow it away. On an aerospace test, there are some provisions for screwing up an end, but you don't want to. Why not just make the end good? Put your best foot forward. And then when you tie into a previous weld, if you're backstepping like this, trail out like a teardrop, like a comet trail. That'll help you avoid crater cracks. On a test like this, it's also common just to weld the whole thing start to finish, but that's just showing you how to make a tie-in to a previous weld. With this test piece being in a purge fixture, got nice and silver on the back side, a little bit of colors on the front side, which might look nice, but in some industries that would need to be removed. While those colors might look pretty, they are a layer of oxidation that is more prone to corrosion than bare stainless. Let's take a look at a T-joint now. This time I'm using a clear Jazzy tin cup. Still provides quite a bit of argon shielding. A T-joint usually won't require quite as big a cup to get really good results because it kind of traps the argon better than a butt joint does. For this particular joint, it's 0.80 thousandths thick, and I'm using about 85 amps. I'm trying to take very short steps here in between dabs of filler metal. If you step out too far and wait too long before dabbing filler metal, that's where you melt through. And there are some requirements to not melt through on either test welds or even production parts of this thickness. That oxide layer, as I mentioned before, is not as corrosion resistant as pure stainless steel. So one way to get rid of that oxide layer is with a stainless steel cleaner. This is the Easy Clean EK+. It's an electropolisher that uses a solution here to remove that oxide layer, and actually removes a very small layer of material to where it's very corrosion resistant when you're done. Here's the before, and here's the after. Big difference. I worked in a fab shop one time. We did lots of structural stainless steel parts like this, about 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch thick. A lot of them were 2-pass welds like this. Again, that's a nice pretty weld, lots of pretty colors, but in order to make it really corrosion resistant where it won't rust later on in its service life, electropolishing is a very efficient way to get rid of that heat tint and provide a more corrosion resistant surface. Here's a 2-pass T-joint. First pass done with a regular gas lens, and then the second pass done with a ceramic Jazzy tin and a slight weave motion. If you've never tried a ceramic Jazzy tin on stainless steel, I suggest you give it a try. It is a great all-around cup for stainless. And what little discoloration and heat tint there is can be removed really quickly with the EK+. This is a carbon to stainless socket weld, where the fitting is carbon steel and the pipe is stainless. I'm using 309 filler, walking the cup with a number 8 large diameter gas lens. 309 is designed to weld stainless to carbon steel, but it's also a very handy rod to have for when you're welding dissimilar metals and you don't know the exact grade of steel you're welding. It'll get you by in a pinch. 312 is also a really good dissimilar filler wire. If you're making welds like this in an industry where there's highly corrosive things like fertilizer, this is going to really help maintain that corrosion resistance. In some industries, it's common to weld stainless steel without filler metal, and one of those is the food industry, especially for processing equipment and then also for sanitary tubing. Here are some pulse settings that might help you with an outside corner joint. Anywhere between 0.7 and 2 pulses a second would work here, but I'm going to set this at 1 pulse per second. That is a really good setting that's fairly easy to keep up with. For the background current, I'm going to set it way down low, 5%. That's going to give me a lot of control. And then for the pulse width or pulse duty, it's called different things on different machines, I'm going to set it at 30%. Now, pulse is not really necessary on this joint, but it sure can help. And you have to remember when you are using pulse settings that you need more amperage on the main setting than you would without pulse. I'm going to use a ceramic Furic 12 for this joint with a fairly long stick out so we can see the arc. Some purge apparatus, probably about 25 to 30 CFH on the cup and only about 5 to 10 on the purge, because if I use too much gas on the purge, that's just going to give me problems. So basically, you can either move along at a nice steady pace or kind of try to move at even increments on the low pulse. Either one will work fine. You can even prop with your hand, but it's really a good idea to keep a short piece of filler rod in your hand. Even though you're welding without filler rod, if something keyholes out momentarily, you can get that rod in there real quick and keep going and things will go better. Kind of like a little safety net. You can't always have purge gas on the backside of sheet metal parts like this. It does help. Even though I pumped argon on the backside here, even if I didn't have argon, it still would help draw the heat out and make for a better looking surface on the backside. The next best thing to argon is either copper or aluminum backing clamped directly to the backside of a weld like that. Let's take a look at that same weld with filler metal this time. This is 1/16 ER308 filler metal. Just dabbing just the least little bit in there, about once every, a little bit more often than once a second actually, and still using a number 12 ceramic cup. The Furic 12, either clear or ceramic, or the Jazzy 10, clear or ceramic, both get really good results on stainless steel, really good gas shielding. Well, now we're going to take a quick look at a lap joint. This is 080 thickness again, and it takes a little bit less amperage than a T-joint. So I'm at 77 amps here. Probably could get by with a little bit less, and it would really help if I had a little bit smaller filler wire. This is 1/16 diameter filler. 045 would be the ticket here, I think. Again, I'm going a little bit hotter than what's necessary, but it worked. Another benefit is being able to use a really long stick out. The only reason I needed a long stick out was to get that cup out of the way of the camera so you could see the arc shot. But there are definitely times when you might have to reach down into a tight spot, and that really helps to be able to do that. Stainless generally takes a little bit less amperage than carbon steel. If this were carbon steel, I might be up to a good 140 amps, but since it's stainless, I'm not even quite at 105 amps, and it's enough. I could go hotter and pick up the travel speed, but it just goes to show you, you don't need quite the amperage to weld stainless that you do carbon steel. That's because it's just not very thermally conductive and heat builds up. Now let's review some best practices for stainless steel. It never hurts to review these basics. Number one is always use a stainless, dedicated stainless wire brush. Don't use a stainless brush that's been used on carbon steel. Don't use a carbon steel brush. You can impregnate little particles of carbon and cause corrosion and rust. A gas lens helps, not only for better gas shielding, but for being able to use a much longer stick out for reaching down in holes or really tight angles. And a Jazzy 10 ceramic is a really good choice. Now, if you have a 17 style torch, you can get some stubby hardware. We've got a stubby gas lens kit that also works with this Jazzy. Works great. Another really good rule of thumb is to establish your puddle quickly. Get moving quickly. 3 seconds is a limit. 2 seconds is even better. Like, get that puddle established and get traveling. Otherwise, heat builds up and you just kind of can't outrun the heat. For critical welds like this sanitary tubing, you need an argon purge on the inside. There's no substitute for purge gas on the inside there. Without purge gas, you're going to get sugaring, and it's going to be an area where bacteria can grow. Not to mention that, but it's just no fun to weld without a purge. There are certain jobs you might be able to get by with solar flux, but sanitary tubing is not one of those times, and I hate solar flux anyway. Let me show you a really good example of just welding full penetration with no argon or no backing or anything on the backside. That's an area where bacteria can grow, and in some jobs it's an area where a crack can start. There's an example of not purged, no argon gas, as compared to purged. Night and day. Stay tuned for a future episode of the Weldmonger podcast where we're going to dive in more deep to stainless steel, metallurgy of stainless steel, things like carbide precipitation, what is it, what causes it, how to avoid it, with plenty of practical application. I'm showing this little clip here again at the end of this video because my son-in-law will be at FabTech and he'll be working with Easy Clean as well as Prime Weld. We're going to be having a demo area where you can try out a prime weld machine. You can weld aluminum, you can weld stainless. You can take your stainless coupon over to the Easy Clean machine. The guys at the Easy Clean booth will show you the ins and outs of the EK Plus machine and how it might benefit your business if you weld stainless steel and corrosion in the field is a problem for you. Easy Clean is an Australian company. We've had nothing but positive experience working with those guys, and also from our customers who have purchased those machines. If you're going to be attending FabTech this year, I hope you'll drop by the booth. Just look up Easy Clean, Prime Weld, and Weldmonger, and you can get a nice demo on any one of those units. Thanks for watching, and thanks for your support.